I'm so tickled because I'm like, okay, God, I did it. I did it. I can go cook some din din, have some dinner. And then he's like, how about you tell them how I've been stripping you? Exactly how? Like, talk about that. Like, what what has that look like? So I'm like, you funny. You're real funny. That's cool. But I'll say I didn't already mention in the video um where like God is just, peeling back the layers and, just being more emotionally vulnerable. I don't think that I was like a very emotionally vulnerable person. But part of that too, being in a new city, um, and coming to a new city where I didn't have like an established network, where I didn't have um, any of that, it's like part of coming here was to, even though I knew a lot of people in Atlanta, I would say that I kind of lived my life a little bit more in isolation. And I mean that from like more of like a mental standpoint. Like, Atlanta was a place where it was very easy for me to kind of engage with people, but kind of keep people too at an arm's distance, or like, we cool, but like, I don't have to like get close or get tender or vulnerable or ask you for anything. And being here, like, even just making friends, it's like I really have to make effort. I have to put myself out there. I have to, you know get out of my comfort zone. I'm generally like, I'm cool. I can be outgoing and all of that, but for the most part, I'm like an introverted person. Like, if we talk, we talk. If we don't, we don't. That's cool. I'm definitely like one of those people. Like, I'm not like, to me, a networking event is like, it's just not my thing. Like, striking up conversation is not normally me. So, having to, and also knowing like I need that. You know what I mean? Like, one thing that God has been showing me is like, you need community, and you need community that's not just like friends that, y'all can just go out together and go do things, but you need friendship where, it's iron sharpening iron. You need friendship where they'll correct you, they'll rebuke you, they'll love on you when you're feeling like you can't trust me, and you tell them that, they're going to give you scripture, and they're going to give you word, and they're going to feed you life, and not just the cutesy part of, relationships and friendships, but like really the part that gives you life and helps sustain you. So that has been something that has been difficult, because one, I have to be more intentional, and I have to put myself out there. So that's definitely been hard. And then also too, like, I'm living between two cities, and trying to grow my freelance business and grow my nonprofit work. So it's one of those things where it's stretching me. It's stretching me financially. So it's like, I have to depend on you. And if there's something where I'm lacking, it's like, I have to really say it. You know what I mean? And I'm like one of those people that, like, I'm not probably gonna ask for help. And even if I'm in a bad situation, I just don't believe in like looking like your situation and just wallowing in it or complaining about it, telling everybody, and I'm just not that person. But I've had to like strip back that it's really just pride of not asking or not saying like, hey, I need help. Or even if it's just a matter of like, okay, well, I am looking to connect with people so that I can grow my business, or so that, even if it's just like, hey, I'm gonna jump back into the job market until things like stabilize. Being able to just like say that and admit like, hey, I need to like lean on the people that are around me. And one thing I can say about the life that I built for myself in Atlanta, but and especially because I was the only person, like all of my family is here in Texas. They're not here in Dallas. Um, but all of my family's in Texas. I was the only person in Georgia. So I built a life where I run the show. Nobody's telling me what to do. I'm not having to answer to anybody. I'm not having to lean on anybody. I'm doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it for the most part. And so to be back here where I'm in this place where it's like God is like, you told me that you surrender. You told me yes. And you might have well, I meant it. I really did mean it, but you might have thought like, okay, that just is that, and you're gonna say yes, and you're gonna do things your way. But you told me yes, and so it's like one of those things where like surrender, where it's just like I did say yes, I did surrender, I did say like God, I give you all of me. Like you can have every area of my life, and even when I'm not trusting you, even when I feel doubtful, I'm still going to push through. So it's stripping me in that way. It's stripping me he's been stripping me of my ideals on how I look at relationships and how I look at dating and everything that I wanted for my businesses that I kind of like, you know, they were all God-given ideas, but because of where I was in my journey, it was like I call it like a flesh coat. Like I just had a flesh coat over, you know, what it is of how I thought it was gonna be. And so even though I've literally been saved and had salvation since 5 years old, but it is not until now in my 30s where I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna read my Bible. Like I'm going to read my Bible from cover to cover. God, I'm going to pray. And my prayers are not just going to be about me. Like so much of my Christian relationship revolved around me, what I want, what my needs are. I was not even the businesses that God has given me and the ideas and the different things that he wanted me to do. At the very top priority, they were self-serving first. And so God is like even reordering that inside of me of just, okay, you you have to serve and love others. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a spirit of servitude and want and desire to help others, and you of course will be taken care of. And so just like rethinking and reimagining how that is, and also like letting go of my plans. Like I have to die to my flesh every single day, to pride, to wanting to control aspects of my life that I've said I surrender. And so that has definitely been something that is stripping me, and just having to admit that I need help, I need people, I desire intimacy, I desire closeness with people, and I think once it's kind of like when you're sometimes you don't realize that you're in a place where your environment is not healthy, and that you're in a state of sickness, and that you're in a state of isolation, because sometimes we think that isolation just means, oh, I'm just always by myself. But for me, I mean, that wasn't necessarily the case. I was out a lot, but I was disconnected from truly having to have like heart, like, and God is really giving me a heart of flesh, you know. And so it's like everything stripping away, yeah, so stripping away those aspects of me that, you know, mm, I was very much a bye, you can. I just was on an island. I was on, even though I was, saw people be out, chop it up a kiki. I was on my own island spiritually, and I was on my own island just in life. And when I was praying that prayer of Lord, make every crooked path straight, he really has been making those paths straight, and really just helping me to understand even the importance of community and fellowship. And I see why, like, the Bible even tells us not to forsake fellowship and community, because we need it. We need it. Looking at my food, seeing if it's, but we need it. We need it for accountability. It's one of those things that helps you, on your walk, and helps you in your faith. So it's also been like one of those type of things where I've had to be even more disciplined, because I'm looking for a church home. And I was fortunate enough that when I was in Atlanta, I found a church home on my first visit. But being out here, it quite hasn't been like that. And it's not, it's been hard to find something that's like comparable to like what I had in Atlanta. And so I'm, having to be more disciplined of like, okay, I'm not getting the same, I'm going to church on, Sunday, and, having a certain level of worship, and, being ministered to, and I'm going to Bible study, and I'm going to young adults meetings. So I'm having to, cultivate that relationship and still maintain the relationship. Pause. Okay. So, like, even having to just be more disciplined, because I think when you're like within the structure of a church, and it's a lot easier to say yes when that structure is in place. Like, okay, I know I got to be at Bible study on Tuesday. I know I'm gonna be at service at this time on Sunday. We doing a meeting afterwards. We got the YA event, or we got these meetings, and that, like, you kind of are able to put God in a structure. Whereas, like, being here and not immediately, like I said, it just didn't go according to how I thought. Like, I was like, oh yeah, just like I found a church immediately, I'm probably gonna find some, really quick, when I get there. And I had been visiting different churches and stuff. So I just thought it was gonna like click quick. And so I'm having to be more disciplined, where it's like, okay, now I'm going to be more vigilant about making sure I'm not getting into stuff that I used to do, whether it's just, going out or something. It's like, let me just scale that back, because, I know that I'm in a place where I don't have that consistent community and fellowship, to keep me in line and to just kind of hold me accountable. I'm not getting fed the word at the same level that I'm used to. And it's like, yeah, I know like virtual is cool, but virtual is nothing like, it still doesn't compare to like being with other believers and y'all all praising God at one time. Y'all all coming together to worship God. So I would say overall, the things I can just name off the top, it has increased my vulnerability, my dependency on my community, me having to be more open. It has certainly given me more and more of a heart of flesh. It has caused me to be more disciplined in my faith. It has caused me to rely and to trust on God more for my provision, more for my business to expand, more for my service of people, and wanting to expand my nonprofit efforts. It's increased, it's stripping my identity as well, of just like what I think this walk looks like and how it should be, and me having to like let go of control and pride and just doing things my way. So those are kind of the things I would say my sanctification process has been. It's also taught me how to fight. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what I do want to say. When you have been living a life, even if you've been a Christian, if you've been living in a lukewarm place, and the enemy has had any type of territory, any type of foothold in your life, and you're coming back and you're taking that real estate and you're saying, no, I'm gonna change, or no, I want something different for my family. Like, I want to be very clear. You are fighting. You're already in a spiritual battle. You just don't realize that you're losing the battle. But when you start saying, no, I'm giving this territory back over to God. Everything that you have taken from me, everything that you have stolen from me, anything that you have delayed, I want it back. You in some form or fashion are going to fight, and you have to, and I'm learning that, you know, how to fight. There are times where I think I'm ready to, all right, I'm about to roll up my shot, I'm about to go in and, do all of this stuff, and God is like, I got it. You know what I mean? I got it. And it might be very simple instructions, and there's times I have to fast, and there's times that, I'm having to pray and pray and pray and pray. So, I'm learning how to war, and how to truly be a disciple and to be a daughter, and realizing that if I'm taking back territory that I've allowed the enemy to have a foothold over for years, like, that's, it's mine. God has already released it. It's mine. It's for me to have, but it's not like it's always gonna come without a fight. Most of the time it is, and that's where you have to, like, be sensitive to the Holy Spirit and to his instructions of how to handle whatever it is. And so I've experienced, adversity being here and having to learn how to work through what I'm experiencing spiritually, in the spirit realm, against, renouncing and denouncing things, generational things, that certain things I didn't even know, like, had nothing to do with me, but things that I'm just having to, like, hey, this stops with me. Like, my family, my kids, we not doing it. Like, you might have got 100 years, 50 years, 200 years today. That stops with me. Like, we're not doing that, as far as me and my house. So it's like one of those type of things where, you just gotta stay on track, because it's like, this thing really is like, life and death, and we are not wrestling against flesh and blood, but principalities in high places. Okay, so we got to get some work done. So I'm about to cook my dinner. My rice is over there going crazy. I hope, that this is it for tonight. But if it ain't, I'll be back and I'll be obedient. Okay? Bye.